Hi everyone. Sorry about running a little late. I'm just kind of getting things ready now here. Uh, I looked down at my clock, thinking to Brad. I says, I better be getting ready for the show. And I looked at the clock, and the clock said 4 o'clock, and it's like, oh no, I'm late. I'm like the Alice in Wonderland. I'm late. Sorry about that, folks. I didn't mean to ignore you or anything, but I've been busy today. Been busy chasing down geologists, anthropologists, archaeologists, various museums, and Wisconsin State Historical Society. And then there's a week's geological museum in Madison. Anyhow, I'm chasing down the F.S. Perkins artifacts. The artifacts were set. If it wasn't for Perkins, he was out of Burlington, Wisconsin. And if it wasn't for the determination of F.S. Perkins, we may not even have known about the ancient copper race. It was all the other museums had just like little bits and pieces of things that they had found, but not enough to put together, for to draw any conclusion of what they were. So basically, they're what would be today Oopalas. And so the historical, or like the Smithsonian, only had like 3 or 4 pieces. I mean, that's just goes to show you how little there was out there. And but this man by the name of F.S. Perkins, he actually had a horse and wagon, and he would go out a couple times a week in the Burlington area and purchase from the farmers any little artifacts that they may have dug up while plowing their fields. And he did this for many, many years, and he collected everything. And then just prior to him dying, he contacted the Beloit Anthropological Museum, the Smithsonian, the Milwaukee Museum, Madison Museum, and some others, and donated and sold his artifact collection. And he had so much of it. I mean, we're talking, well, Beloit alone has over 1,000 artifacts from Perkins. And in Milwaukee, or Madison too, as well as Milwaukee. And the Smithsonian contacted and wanted to buy up all of it, which they refused. Because they didn't want everything in one place, which was a good thing, because we know a lot of times that what happens to a lot of these artifacts when they get to the Smithsonian. But this was a time when the Smithsonian was kind of fairly a little bit honest. And the Smithsonian, and thank goodness for them, because at that time, they were having, they had this Lapham go around, and some others go around and document and map out various earthen mounds. And they put together these maps and the stories, and today they are still accessible. We may not have a lot out there, on, missing artifacts of the giants per se, but the giants were there when this culture was still active. So we do have stories of, we get stories of these giants through these mound builders. Of course, these mound builders a lot of times were 7 to 8 foot tall too. So I mean, you know, there was interbreeding going on. But anyhow, I've been trying to, as time goes by though, what happens is people forget. And if you don't talk about it, you don't write about it, most people just go on to something else. And then when the time is right, the stories get written again, but interpreted wrong, sometimes purposely. They did this with the Native American Indians. When they first started writing about the Native American Indians and trying to introduce them to the European cultures, they wrote them up as subhuman with very little intelligence, just like probably what you'd get from a dog. But they needed to, because of the fact that they wanted to go into North America and steal the land from the Indians. So they couldn't have the people seeing them in any other form but subhuman, giving them that permission that they could kill any Indian on sight. Be like shooting a dog or a coyote or a wolf or a bear, shoot on sight. And it worked. It was very successful. And so Europeans came into the United States, North America, and pretty much wiped out the North American Indian. But then there came a point in history that they didn't need to wipe out the American Indian because they already had everything that they really needed. So there was all these ancient mounds and temples and pyramids all over North America, and showing a great sign of intelligence. Somebody had to build these. If they were building them, they had to be intelligent, right? So what they did is, knowing that these were not Native American Indians, they gave the credit to the Native American Indians and used the ancient mound builders and what they had accomplished is credit to the Native American Indian. And what did they do with the people prior to the Native American Indian? They went right back and did the same thing as they did with the Native Americans. They created this low-browed, caveman, subhuman species, which we came to know as the caveman, the Neanderthal. But now today we find out that the Neanderthal was very, very intelligent, probably more intelligent than a lot of the people today. They had paintings, so they knew art. They knew how to weave. They knew how to build roads, how to build waterways. They knew how to build the temples, the pyramids. They knew sacred geometry. They knew astrology. Things that we're just learning today. And some of the things we may never learn. But that's how it goes. So then you got people like me and others out there that say, well, I want to know the truth. Because we're finding not much, but we're finding evidence of this copper culture. And we know it's not Native American. So, well, Lori, I'm sorry, you're not really late because I was running late too. So anyhow, we're just getting started with the show. So that's what and that's what I do is I write book. I got a 5-book series, In Search of Ancient Man. And that's what I do is I go into these old records, lost information, talk to the locals, talk to the Native Americans, get as many, and hard to find books. and I find all these pieces of the puzzle. And even though in the old theology books, I studied the Bible, and I still do, and I study Mormon history. I study Scientology, even Buddhism, Islam, the Quran. Um, Anything I can get my hands on, I'm studying. And I have found that they all still carry a very common theme, regardless of what religion. And so that's what I do, is I find these common themes or common denominators, things that are repeated in each and every book. Then I take these pieces and I put it together, and I try to recreate the original story. And I put that in my books. The red-haired giants, giants, gods, and lost races, lost in time, and revelations. And that's 4 books. And I got the last book I'm hoping I will have out or done and out for the conference in Michigan. And that conference, we're going to have quite a lot of very well-known speakers. I'm trying to think of some of the speakers' names. It's like, doing, my brain is going dead again, but that's okay. Usually I have a dead brain, so I'm kind of getting used to that. One thing about getting older, you can blame it on age, but I remember my first husband calling me when I was like 19. He left a note on my kitchen table saying, "Sorry, I called you scatterbrained." So, blame it on old age if you want, but actually I've always been like this. So anyhow, I want to welcome everybody to the show today. But that's why this show has been late, is I've been chasing down all these archaeologists, geologists, all these museums, and I just got caught up in it, and then I realized, I'm supposed to be doing this show right now. So if I don't look very great, it's because I really didn't have a whole lot of time to put on any makeup. But I got my clothes on, got my glasses on, so I mean, we got a good start, right? But I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find. Let's see. I suppose it's AAPS, American. Gosh darn it. Ancient American Preservation Society is having a huge conference in October, and I will be the guest speaker for their dinner, and where I will be speaking on preserving the ancient mound builders, because there's been a lot of destruction going on, and somehow, some way, we have to save our ancient history. This is what I don't like about history. We have the most amazing history. Man does. We have the most amazing history. But every time a country is being replaced by another country, they wipe out the history that was part of the prior race, or their enemy, the ones that they replaced. You see it in Egypt, where the faces have been defaced. Like a pharaoh, if the pharaoh, they'll take away every piece of information from about that certain pharaoh. And all the monuments, everything, they don't want one name of head mentioned So they completely wipe out that history. You see it in Greece with the monuments destroyed, these beautiful, beautiful statues. When the monks came in to North America, one of their main goals was to anything that they came up to, like as far as monuments went, they were to destroy, because they thought they were pagan, and they were wanting to replace the pagan history with their history. And now we're seeing the same thing happening here in the United States with these monuments from the Civil War. And this is not a good thing, because Hitler destroyed the books. Anything that he didn't think fit what he was trying to create, as a way of thinking, they were all destroyed. All that history. And the monuments, we may not like the monuments, because it wasn't a time in our history that we're proud of. Okay? We may hate those monuments, but the big factor is it is part of our history. It doesn't. And when you destroy those monuments and you destroy that history, it becomes gone forever. You can't take history and replace it with something pretty. It's a fact. It happened. Blacks were used as slaves. Irish people were used as slaves. Native Americans were used as slaves. Women are used as slaves. Now, children have been used as slaves. It is a fact, a very negative fact in our history. But that is where we learn from, is our history. So by going back, seeing what all happened, we can learn not to ever do it again. And we learn why it happened, how it happened. We always learn from history. That does not mean we have to like it. We can hate it. But we can never destroy it and replace it with something Pollyanna. Because then we're not any better than the ones that destroyed the monuments of Egypt or Greece. What a waste. And in those monuments, there's things that's they're, like Robert E. Lee. Well, it's not just a statue of Robert E. Lee. It's the story behind Robert E. Lee. We look at it and we see, right now we're seeing a bad person. He was fighting for slavery. Okay, that's what's being told to us now. But what about this? Everybody has a story. So what about the story of Robert E. Lee? Right? That he was an Indian fighter. It goes back, his monstrosities goes back past the slavery. It goes into being in Madison, Wisconsin. Going through Madison, Wisconsin during the Black Hawk Wars. Finding and killing Native American Indians. But being responsible for the Trail of Tears. Well, if we delete Robert E. Lee from our history because of the slavery, how do we learn about the other things that he did? Which brings up as to learning about the Native Americans and what what they went through on the Trail of Tears. How their land was stolen, how they went through genocide. And if we forget their stories, then we forget the stories of how they had created genocide over over the race of white people, white giants, red-haired giants that lived here in North America. See? It's all connected. So we can't just tear down the monuments. We can tear them down if they're offensive in the town and put them in a museum, but we cannot just destroy them because they're offensive to us. Because they may be offensive, but we need to learn their stories so that we don't make those type of mistakes again. And that we learn who the races were prior to. And that's what I've been working on. And because most of the monuments have been destroyed from the Europeans, the Christian Europeans that were coming through, it's very, very difficult to gather the stories of the ancient mound builders. And but we are learning through the Indians. Fortunately, they are not only telling the good, but they're also telling what they did as far as extermination of a race prior to them. And they have their reasons that were told to them, that worked for them for that day. And the Civil War, same thing. It's propaganda. Propaganda based on the elite of the world, the warmongers, the land grabbers, people looking for, that are filled with ego. They have to be the best of everything. They have to own the best at the expense of maybe millions of people's lives. They don't care. So they put out propaganda. And it's up to people like myself to eliminate that propaganda and write books and share and do stories like this, shows like this, to give you some sort of truth. And always remember, I'm giving you truth as I know it. And that's where a lot of people made the mistake before. They bought into these egomaniacs, these land grabbers, these emperors' stories. They wasn't thinking for themselves. So they ended up misinformed about the intelligence of animals, birds, trees, people, and they just went out and destroyed. And then later they found out the truth. Too late then. So, but then the truth was destroyed so that they could use that misinformation again. And that's what we're seeing right now is Mexicans are rapists, killers, drug dealers. Children, I don't even know why they're doing the things that they're doing to children. Apparently they feel that because of who they are, what they are, they have a right to hurt small children. Maybe they've been taught that they're so narcissistic. Some of these people are so narcissistic they don't care what happens to the children. And we aren't writing, we're not putting out in the public as much as we should about these rings going on now that are trafficking small children, which Sheriff Joe Apiro was part of. And if you go back and you look at what he's been charged at, you will see there's been, 400, I think, I can't remember, charges against him for child uh, uh, they worded it kind of funny, where it would be like child crimes, I think that was listed as. But in reality, Sheriff Joe knew about the child trafficking, was involved in child trafficking, and turned his back to people that were trafficking children for sex. I know that because I was there at that point in time. And I had the Phoenician Publishing House. And I had a senator contact me asking me to come over to his house. And he needed to show me something. And I went there. And he had a tape. And he showed it to me, showing that these people were involved in child trafficking, taking it all the way back to using the Social Service Department and Child Protection Services to get these children, and these children would disappear. They focused on single women, that didn't have the power, the family behind them, where the social service would come in, say, well, you're having problems with these children, they're corrupt, they're having a difficult time in school, we're taking them. And until you can provide a better living for them, or get a job. It was terrible. And the senator wanted me to help him with this, but because he couldn't go out in public to let people know because of politics. So like I said, I had a publishing house at that time. I was putting out different types of newspapers, magazines, and all that. And so he asked me if I would be able to help with this. At the time, I refused because I was a mother with 2 young children. And I looked at it, if he was too afraid as a senator to do something about this and put his head on the chopping block, I was not going to subject my children to possibly being taken away from me and being put into this child trafficking. And I've never regretted that, but I was aware of it, and I did watch. And now, if you go back to Sheriff Joe, you'll see that there was a whole bunch of different accounts of him being involved in child crimes. Child crimes was child trafficking for sex, using the Arizona Social Service Department and Child Protection in order to do it. These kids would be, they would focus on not only single women, but they'd also focus on people in poverty that had children, because they knew that they couldn't afford attorneys. They were easy hits, and they focused on the Mexicans, because if they were legal, the parents couldn't go to the police, were afraid to go to the police because their child was illegal. And Sheriff Joe used that. The majority of the children that were taken and used for this were illegal immigrants. Now, Sheriff Joe and Trump are very, very close. As a matter of fact, they share the same birthday. As a matter of fact, Trump had a Pirro actually go to Hawaii during that birther movement, go to Hawaii to prove out that Obama was not born in Hawaii, using Maricopa funds in order to do it. I don't think that Sheriff Joe's jurisdiction extended past Maricopa County. But these guys have been in the cahoots for a long time. And I've been watching Trump. And for me, I would not trust him around my children, especially my daughters. I'm not saying he is, and I'm not saying he's not. But I do know that Sheriff Joe is. And I know that Trump knew that Sheriff Joe was involved in child trafficking. I could prove it, yeah, if I could remember who that senator was that had me over at his place. But that was, that was even before I was married to Brad, and I've been married to Brad for like 20 years, 21 years. So, I mean, this thing with Sheriff Joe has been going on for a very, very long time. It finally just got to the point where the people just said no more, and he wasn't reelected. But I'm hoping that, I'm kind of glad that Trump pardoned him, because I'm hoping that with this pardon, the state picks up on it and goes after Sheriff Joe and exposes Sheriff Joe and this child trafficking that he was involved in. There was a lot of people, I mean, that this man was not, I mean, yeah, he served green bologna sandwiches, and he made people wear pig underwear, and made them live in these tents at 100 and some degrees outdoors. I mean, people died. Hundreds of people died under Sheriff Joe's watch in his jail. But his jail, I can personally tell you, the Maricopa County Jail in Phoenix was very corrupt. And they were, as far as the women went, the jailers were taking them into other rooms and having sex with them, forcing themselves upon these women, or trading sex for cigarettes. Because that's what Sheriff Joe wanted. He totally encouraged corruption. He was not. Sheriff Joe is an evil man. And I had a newspaper business there at that time. I was dealing with a lot of people, very high up people. And the stories were getting to me. And someday, at some point in time, maybe I'll tell you more. But a little bit at a time, okay? So, but anyhow, this is how this system works. And with the new age coming, more and more of these lies, this corruption is being exposed. And I just pray to God that child trafficking, per se, ceases to be marked as just simple child crimes. Because that's not what Sheriff Joe was involved in, child crimes. So our history, even today, there's a lot of bad things going on out there. But now they're being revealed. And these people will eventually be caught and have to answer for their crimes. And this is what I'm looking forward to. Knocking down monuments, all that is to keep your attention on one thing while they're doing something else. you know, it's the old wag the dog thing. And that's why Peter Moon doesn't like me talking politics. You know, but I think politics, you have to tell the truth. You know, that that is the responsibility of every one of us right now. If we see a crime coming down, we have to acknowledge that crime. We can no longer look the other way. It's like, remember Katrina? People was not allowed to go in from the outside with their boats and that and save people. They were turned away. The people in the in that auditorium, they were not allowed to leave. They were held like prisoners. They could easily have gotten out of there, but they couldn't. There was military there to make sure that they didn't get out. And for days, they never got around to even helping them. And then finally, FEMA got in there, and water was given to them, food was given to them, and eventually, the nightmare was over for them. This time, what you saw was the people says, no, we're going in there and we're going to help our neighbors. And they did. They didn't sit back waiting for FEMA or the government to come in and tell them what to do. People today are more empowered than they were during the days of Katrina. Katrina shocked the people. You know, they didn't see it coming. They were traumatized. These people, based on historical accounts, they says, hey, that ain't going to work for us. And so they all got together and started helping their neighbors. And people from all different states started coming in with their boats and their food. And there was such a gathering of people, the government had to stand aside. And the news coverage was there to make sure that the government stood aside and allowed these people to get in. And so now we're hearing about the Good Samaritan, which they were allowed to be, because they knew that it would not work sitting back waiting for government to get the National Guards in, to get FEMA in or anything. These people needed help now, and they took care of it themselves. Eventually, because I sat back for a couple of days, I watched, and I was like, well, where's the military trucks? Where's these helicopters? Think about it. Go back for the first several days of Houston. You did not see a lot of military there, National Guards or anything. You seen the Cajun National Guards or whatever they call themselves. They were terrific. But you didn't see these big duck, those big trucks that can be on land or go in the water. You didn't see any of them. You didn't see any big high water army trucks in there pulling people out by the dozens. You know, it was people bringing people out one at a time. But then when the army and everybody got in there, then they were able to get more and more people out. So there's a good thing. But there's a story there. And when this is all done and over, you're going to watch Trump and Pence and all those guys and the governor patting their back about what excellent work that they did. No. The excellent work came from every man and woman out there that helped their neighbors, and every man and woman that drove from another state down there to help. Hundreds, if not thousands of lives were saved because the people themselves jumped in there and saved people. If they would have stood back and waited for government or the police to just get in there and take care of it, there was no way that lives would have been saved. Elizabeth Clayton says, is it true that they are killing off people but make it look like accidents? I don't think that they are in Houston, no. But I had heard from witnesses from Katrina that this was happening because they wasn't allowing people in and they wasn't allowing people out, and they were shooting people. And I don't know what the heck happened there with why they did what they did. I'll never understand what happened with Katrina. Hi, Larry. We were talking about Katrina and how things have changed since the days, or since Houston. But okay, so we're sitting back and we're watching all these wonderful people coming in and donating millions and millions and millions of dollars, and Trump's out there trying to figure out how he can cut into that money being sent, so that he can still build the wall from to separate Mexico from the United States. Even though Mexico has come in with truckloads of people and equipment and food and water to help the people out in Houston. So bad Trump. Now is not the time to be thinking about how he's going to make money off of Houston, enough money off Houston to build the wall. Because Trump isn't even wanting to acknowledge Mexico being in there helping all of us. But the thing is, we can't be a take society like Houston. We're giving, they're taking, and that's wonderful. But did you know at the same time that this is going on, millions of people have lost their homes in Nepal and Bangladesh, India? Thousands are drowning, dying because of the monsoons. They usually can handle the monsoons, but everything because of global warming is in extremes. So right now they're having the worst disaster in history in India. Millions of people are homeless. And in the same situation as with the flooding as what's going on in Houston. How much is the news covering that? Oh, did you know that right now, Canada, people are getting smoke. The northern states are getting smoke coming from Canada because Canada is undergoing their own emergency with fires. Has the news reported on that? Where we're getting most of our information right now, the truth, is through social media. And social media has been doing a wonderful job, exposing people and getting the news out about what else is happening around the country. Social media is putting the heat on all the bad guys. And so, bless social media, because who is social media? Ta-da! That is us. We are taking back our power. Good thing, huh? We're not as dependent on government as government would like. And we're smart enough not to just listen to one station like Fox News. We are checking out the facts. We're listening to different news broadcasts. We're getting on the internet and checking things out for ourselves. We're talking among us. People from Houston in that area are on the internet and they're, on Facebook and saying, hey, this just happened. The good news. Water's gone down 6 inches. Well, that's good news. But in the meantime, the news is reporting that it's rising. Okay, so we, the people, are actually going out. We're smart now. That veil, that blindness, that blind following of government and religion and news, it's done. You know, there's a few stragglers out there, but they're learning, and we got to give them time. But we will lead through example, and right now we're leading through example through social media. Hi, Missy, I love you, girl. And anyhow, now this was a long story short as to why I was a half an hour late for doing my show. Wow, huh? Long story short. Maybe I should say short story long, huh? But we need to keep our eyes open as to what's all going on around us. We need to send prayers to Canada for their wildfires. We need to send prayers to India, for what they're going through. I mean that's millions homeless, thousands are dead that they know of right now. I mean, Houston can't hold a candle to that. And what help are they getting? So, I'm sure that they're getting some sort of help, but it should be on the news where where else, we can direct our attention, for help. If Houston has the money covered, to take care of everything, and we can help India or Canada or Mexico or whatever. We're a global community now. It's not a walled-in USA like Trump would want it to be. We can send our prayers. We can talk to other people on Facebook, kind of give them their hopes. What do you want? Somebody contacts you from India, say, hey, I heard something's going on, things going up bad in India. Is there anything we can do? No. And then you can't forget about us, the little guys that sit back and are afraid to use GoFundMe because they're embarrassed because they didn't make enough money on their job to be able to pay for their internet or to get their car fixed. These people are just as important. So if you see a friend out there that's, saying, hey, I'm hurting a little bit, and if you can afford to, send them some money. But only send money that you can afford to lose. That's my motto. I never send money to somebody and expect to ever get it back. So I look at it, okay, my family's got to come first. My bills got to come. But if I got something left over and I don't need it, I send it. Or maybe it could be just something, a rock. Just something that you wrote, I love you on, and send it to them. It may not pay a bill, but at least it makes them feel good for that moment. There's a lot of ways that you can help somebody get through the day. Okay, Missy says that's how I feel too, Mary. And look at the rocks Missy and me have exchanged through the years. Missy and I are both big. I'm talking about Missy Heltzley that's on listening to the show today. She's a friend of mine. She makes beautiful jewelry. Oh my God. I used to sell it at the Sci-Fi Cafe. She makes gemstone jewelry. And she makes special, she made these earrings for me. I only wear Missy's jewelry. That's it. And by the way, Missy, I'm only down to like 2 pair. These other ones I've worn so much I kind of broke. But anyhow, check out Missy's jewelry. She makes these. I love these one jewelry she makes because they're gemstones representing each chakra. And she makes earrings, and then she does necklaces too. I love the earrings. You know, mine broke. Oh, cool! Good. Okay, you got my address there. Let me see. What is my address? All right, I so bad. 248 Carver Street, Winslow, Illinois, and 61089. I'm so bad. But anyhow, I should actually. I don't know if Missy's got a website on this or not. I should put up some of the. I will. I'll put up some of the her earrings and that, because I used to advertise and promote her jewelry when she had it at the Sci-Fi Cafe, and I could not keep it in stock. I literally could not keep it in stock. People loved it. And she goes out and gets her own gemstones. She digs them up, you know, or goes out there and finds these gemstones and then takes her little tools and works them, puts them together, and comes up with these unique pieces, one of a kind. And I've never seen anything like them. And because of her looking for the gemstones and putting that little extra work into them, and because gemstones are healing stones, right? And so with her putting her energy and her love into these healing stones, it's like they're like double the power. So anyhow, I'll put some of her work up. I'm sure I've got pictures left of it. So, and I don't know. I guess everybody sees Melissa Heltzley on this website or on this show. So what you can do is friend her, and then she can tell you more on her Facebook about her jewelry. And I usually don't do that, you know, if you've noticed, but promote other people's work or jewelry. But I've always been so impressed with her work. And like I said, I do not wear any other jewelry. Well, my earrings, I don't. I do have this, you know, and I got my wedding ring, and I got a bracelet, but my earrings, it's Missy or no earrings at all. So anyhow, so going back to what I said, there's a lot of ways you can help people. There's a lot of people depressed right now out there, and they're not seeing any light. And there's us. We're there to help console, to be a shoulder to lean on or to cry on. We're not a professional counselor or psychiatrist that charges $100, $200 for it. We're free, and I think we're better, you know, because we're freely giving our time and our energy. It's not about the money for us and these professional counseling psychiatrist type of places. I suppose they have their purpose, but I think we do too. I think we have the divine right to be able to console, to be out there doing archaeological work, to write history, to follow scientific methods, to be able to talk about God or the goddess, to help heal. We don't need the colleges. We don't need the number. You know, I went, but I mean, personally, what the subjects I took don't even apply to what I need today. Okay, so, but we don't need that. We don't need the letters behind us. We have, and I repeat this, we have the divine right. College degrees and all of this, that's a man-made device to make money off what we have been divinely given. And it is our job to take these gifts through our passions and freely distribute them to anyone in need, regardless of their color, their gender, their age, what country they live in. That's over. We are a global community now. I'm not saying it's okay. I mean, but anybody makes money. Hey, that's great by me, because money kind of helps everybody in this paradigm. I used to go around in town in Burlington, and I'd talk to merchants, and I'd say, hey, you got to get everybody buying from you. But when they spend $1 in your store, you have to go to the next store or some store in Burlington and spend that dollar. And then that person in that store needs to go and spend that dollar someplace else in Burlington. You have to create that circle. So, which is energy, which pays the bills. And you take that and you don't put it out there, you know, when you can help the people that need the help around you. And as you build up that money, then you kind of spread it out a little bit further and spread it out a little bit further. And that's how an economy works. And so yeah, it's great to make money, but don't spend it foolishly either. Don't be tricked out of it. And if you don't have the money, don't take the money that you don't have and give it away because you're thinking you're being a good person. Contact them every night. Just on your Facebook, just to say, hey, hi, I'm checking on you. Send them a rock. If you have clothes that you no longer wear or your kids have outgrown, find a family that's in your community and give it to them. You know, because God knows, you know, everybody needs, kids as they're growing, they need clothes. You know, there's always somebody out there you can help. You can give them a smile, for God's sakes. You know, and don't judge somebody because all of a sudden they were snappy at you or wrote some mean comment to you on Facebook, because everybody has a bad day. You don't know what happened to them during that day. You don't know what's going on in their life at that given moment. So ignore it, you know, and wait. Give them a little prayer. Hope, you know. We can't be so quick to judge. And so, let's see, that was something I wanted to talk about yesterday, but we kind of got caught up in it. I wanted to talk about Sheriff Joe and how Trump, I know, is aware of that child trafficking ring that Sheriff Joe was part of, and the social service department and the child welfare. And you know, and it wasn't just Phoenix, because once I moved up to Wisconsin, I heard on the I heard on the news of a woman that had lost her children to child protection, and she had gotten back on her feet, went to get her child, and they said that the child had gotten lost in the system, and there was no records of that child being there. And that's when attention got brought on to how the social service, child protection service was using these children in these rings. And I haven't heard anything more about it until lately because of Sheriff Joe. And they brought up, I think, 300 child crimes that he was involved in. I think I'd have to check out the number though, but I know what it was for. And I looked at Brad and I said, I told you about that man, and there it is, you know. And like I said, I would not trust Trump around a little girl, never. Every time I see him holding that one little girl's hand as they walk to that helicopter, you know, that brunette, she has long brunette hair. I just, my gut just flips, you know. So, anybody want a reading? Am I even getting comments coming through? I don't even know. I'm going a little bit longer today because I was late. And now I gotta find me. Let's see, Mary Sutherland. Okay, now I got to find me because and then I put up a live stream on, let's see, what is it? I put up a live stream on, it's episode 18, change blindness, and I think that a lot of you, just a second, that a lot of you would enjoy reading or listening to. And here comes Brad. And Brad, what are we having for dinner tonight?
Stroganoff.
We're beef stroganoff?
Uh-huh.
Brad has made beef. Is there any vegetables or anything that goes with that?
Any what?
Is there any vegetables or anything that goes with that?
Nope.
Nope. So you see, hey, Dad, what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, Mary, we're having beef stroganoff. And we're also having some more of that delicious strawberry cake that I made yesterday. Hee-haw! So anyhow, I guess I don't have time for any. Oh my gosh! Thank you, Brad. So anyhow, Brad just reminded me that our co-host Max needs to say goodbye and thank you for coming. Okay, Max, you got anything to say to their friends? Say goodbye. And if you say goodbye, you can go down and eat dinner. Do you want to go eat? Tell everybody. Goodbye. Oh, Maxie's is going to give us the yawn. Oh, Maxie's going to ignore us. Oh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Okay, goodbye, folks. Max has got to go eat. Okay, so anyhow, we now know that he does speak. Not only does he yawn, but he speaks. So anyhow, this will come up as an archive, and we'll do some readings tomorrow. Okay. I love you all. You know that. And thank you, Missy. I can't wait to get my earrings. Actually, like I said, I only got like 2 pair left. You know, I just wear them all the time. That's all. And thank you, everybody, for joining with me today. And I'm sorry I was late. But we got another show tomorrow. So anyhow, I love you guys. And please remember to tell everybody about us. The more people listening, the more empowered we become. The more messages we can get out. And I definitely can't do it without your help. That's for sure. Um, with you helping me, I can help others. And with them helping, it's like a pyramid, you just kind of, you build off each other. And that's what it's all about anymore, building off each other and respecting each other and always telling the truth. Okay? Because we're in a new age. I know that seems weird, doesn't it? But we are. And you saw it just even with Katrina versus Houston. Katrina, separation. Houston, everybody coming together as a community to help. And now we need to extend that as a world view. Taking care of our friends from Mexico, India, Canada, or wherever else people need relief of, whether it be money, a kind word, earrings. But anyhow, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And this will be archived shortly on my timeline and in the group. So if you've missed part of the show, you can see it then. Okay? And you have a wonderful night. All right. Now I'm going off to eat my beef stroganoff. Yeehaw.